Somewhere along the way, I think we forget that we're all human. We are souls or spirits having this human experience. And with that comes imperfection, it comes mistakes, there are challenges and suffering and pain. And the reason why we're all doing this personal development work anyways is to kind of master how to be human. We don't come into the world. We definitely come into the world knowing how to breathe for most of us, and how to develop attachment, and then trauma sets in. And today I'm really excited to talk to you, or for you to listen to the interview that I had with Rebekah Borucki. They call her Bex. She's the founder of BEXLIFE and BLISSED IN wellness movement. She's a mother of 5, a TV host, meditation and yoga guide. She's a birth doula, and she's also the author of You Have 4 Minutes to Change Your Life, and the book that we talk about in this interview, Managing the Motherload. Her mission is to make mental health support and stress management tools accessible to all. During this conversation, Rebekah and I talk a lot about uncomfortable topics. We talk about white privilege, and we talk about why Black Lives Matter, the difference between Black lives and Black people, or women, Black women and women of color, the difference of that, and allowing yourself to feel uncomfortable, and talking about being human. And Rebekah opens up about her journey to write this book, and how she was asked to write a parenting book, and she was like, well, I'm not an expert in parenting. I'm just an expert in my 5 children, and even that I don't know if I have mastered. And so the core of this interview, I want you to walk away with the fact that we are all still trying to figure this shit out. And by no means, just because someone has a platform or a book or a story, does that mean they are better than anybody else. The more vulnerable, truth-based conversations we have with one another, the more we learn. And the more we learn, the more we can make a difference. And that is truly what my mission is all about. It's messy, it's imperfect, and you can do, things better than you did yesterday, and we get up 9 times, or we get knocked down 9 times, and we get up 10 times. It's about this constant pursuit of how can I, instead of I can't. So I'm really excited for you to listen to Bex and to learn more about her. So you can get her book, Managing the Motherload, anywhere books are sold. And she says in this interview, I promise you, self, that even if you feel really lost, we will connect again. And I just thought that was a great quote to leave you on before you dive in to this interview. Here you go. Rebekah, we did it. We made it here.
I'm so excited. Are we done? Can we stop now?
Yes. Yeah. We've climbed the mountain and realized it's a false summit, and that there's another mountain to climb.
That is way too deep for this early in the day. I still have a parent-teacher conference tonight, so don't bring me that.
Okay. It's so nice to meet you. Your book came out, your parenting book.
No, it isn't. Stop it. It is not a parenting book. Oh, I'll say the name, Managing the Motherload, A Guide to Creating More Ease, Space, and Grace in Motherhood, because I've been rehearsing.
How many times have you said that so far in the last few months?
40 billion. And
Nice.
40 billion too many times. So,
and I'm curious, because of course I have questions for you, but what has been your favorite conversation that has come out of all the interviews that you've done for this book and your passion behind writing it?
Conversation doesn't have much with each other. It's about feeling as a Black woman, feeling very much on the outside of things, especially in the very white world of wellness and spiritual wellness, and how that has informed the way that I connect with mothers who often feel like they're on the outside of things. So yeah, that's my favorite conversation to have.
So right. I've been diving into white privilege, and
you've been diving in. I think you've been in it, girl. I'm looking at you.
Okay. I've been in it. Yeah. Just keep going. I've been in it, but trying to dissect it.
Yeah.
And one thing that I heard the other day was, this is a white person problem. Like, stop trying to project this onto us. Like, that's your figure your shit out. It's not trying to understand people of color. It's like understanding how we show up in the world and deconstructing it.
Well, I think intellectually you can understand the plight of people of color. And I want to make a really clear distinction here before we even get started, that I don't call Black people people of color. Black people is a different and distinct group of people. It's a distinct culture, especially here in the United States, because it's a very unique history. So there's Black people, there's people of color, but for white people, I think that they can intellectualize the struggle, and they can understand that bad things have happened, but you can't really understand because you can never be in that. But yes, white supremacy and white privilege are white people problems. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That they keep kind of inflicting on other people, and we wish you'd stop. But, you know, as you start learning about it and divesting from white privilege and divesting from white supremacy, then things get better for everybody, truly. And even you. Yeah.
So where do you start?
Follow Black women. Okay. It's 3 words, follow Black women, because if you look at the real history of the civil rights movement, of women's suffrage, of even in the movement to end slavery, to abolish slavery, it's really been Black women who have been leading the charge and that have been tireless in their efforts. So follow Black women. They will not fail you. And listen to what they say, but even further, buy their books, invest in their businesses, take their workshops, all of those things. And I think that that's the quickest and surest way to get to the truth. It's like the straight line from point A to point B. Yeah.
So what do I do after that? What do I do? So here's the question.
Well, okay, go ahead.
What do I do when I'm in the world or with other white people and I hear things? What do I do?
Get very comfortable with being uncomfortable, which sounds very cliche. Mm-hmm. But being a true ally, and I'll say accomplice, because that's a next step besides ally. It's like really getting in it, putting your body on the line, your money on the line, your reputation on the line. It means getting very, very uncomfortable and lots of confrontation. And that means your dad that says racist stuff at the dinner table, you have to say, like, you have to put the line in the sand and say, you know, I can't have a relationship with you until you are committed to dismantling this. We've had separations in our own family. I'm married to a white man, and we've had separations within his white family. It's very difficult, but if you are a true ally, you have to step into the experience of feeling what Black people feel. So once you are following Black women and investing in what they're teaching, then you have to put yourself in a place of total belief. Mm-hmm. You can't question. You can't be the devil's advocate. You can't do any of that stuff. You have to say, like, I believe you, and then I'm going to act from that belief. And what Black women are saying is, you know, we are dying and our children are dying. Mm-hmm. And you have to treat our children as you would your own. And that's where the motherhood component comes in. And that's why I love speaking to women and speaking to mothers, because we are the nurturers. Mm-hmm. And we are the ones who offer help, healing, love into the world. And I would love to appeal to the mother, the mother heart in every woman, and anyone who identifies as a woman, and people who identify as women are women, but any woman who feels that they want to make a change in the world. And I say, like, it starts with healing the issues within the Black and Indigenous communities. So, yeah. Do that. Believe, and act on that belief.
And deal with my own shit on my own time. My triggers are my triggers. Like,
exactly
fertility is my shit. It's like, Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I think that is, so how do we get past, and this, I'm kind of talking about motherhood in general.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all
connected. But how do we get past, like, okay, what inspired you? I do have a question, but I feel like there's a question before the question. What inspired you to write this book? You kind of already answered that, but what does the title mean to you? Managing the actual mother load. Like, I'm going through, there's tips, there's strategies.
Yeah.
What, like, the mother load, what is the definition of the mother load for you?
I'm going to be very honest. And I've said this before so people know, but I wasn't inspired to write this book. I didn't want to write this book. I had another book in mind, and my publisher rejected it. They rejected that proposal, and they came back to me. And I'm going to talk about pregnancy loss. So anyone who wants to tune out right now, I was in the midst of a miscarriage when they rejected my proposal. And I talk about this in the book, in the midst of an estrangement with my oldest son. And they came back and said, hey, you're a mom of 5. Why don't you write this book? Why don't you write a parenting book? And I felt completely unequipped and unqualified to do that. So what inspired me was a paycheck, as a contributing member of my household. And I have 5 children. What inspired me was a paycheck. And I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. And while still in bed experiencing this 8-day miscarriage, I decided that I would write the book. And I went back to Hay House and said, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be about my experience as a mother. It's not going to be a parenting book, because I think that those are BS. I don't think that anyone is an expert on parenting. And I'm really the only expert on my 5 children, maybe. And let's go from there. And they said yes. Thank goodness. Hay House has always supported me. And we went forward with this book, and it was a labor of love, no pun intended, but it was a really hard, it was a really hard write, because in it, I'm making a lot of confessions about my own insecurities and my own shortcomings as I see them as a mother. So there's a lot of healing that was done during the process of writing this.
Isn't that that's like what writing is about, is healing. Yeah. And jumping into motherhood for me was a big healing process, and a big, like, oh shit moment of, I was 18 when I had my oldest. And I remember going like, what's my purpose? And then gravitating towards motherhood as my sense of purpose. And then another child comes, and another child, and going, no, there's more here. Like, if I keep going down this rabbit hole, it's going to get dark pretty quickly. And I don't know who I'm going to be on the other side. So what do you say to those women who are just like all consumed with motherhood, but bringing it back to the load, and also, our childhood, and how we started this conversation?
That's a loaded conversation.
I know. I'm like, just pick and choose which topic you want to go into. I'm giving you the space.
It's so interesting, because I see women having their babies and then saying, I want to get my body back. Or they're of motherhood, especially with multiple children. So I can totally relate. I had my first at 19 and then kept having them. And it's like, I want to get me back. But there's a lot of grace and a lot of forgiveness and healing, and saying, this is actually who I am now. This woman who is completely overwhelmed and caught up in this, this whirlwind of taking care of other children and feeling really lost. That's actually who I am. And that's okay too. And understanding and holding space for that to end, because it does. It does. If you are earnest about it, if you are intentionally connecting and saying that I promise you self, and this is where my meditation practice comes in, that even though I'm in this place where I'm feeling really lost, I'm holding space that one day we will connect again in a way that makes me feel whole. So even in that brokenness, you're still whole. Like, you're still doing exactly what you should be doing. Like, I can't be my full self when I'm raising little babies. That's great. Like, I'm nursing them. Like, I don't even have my own body. Right. So it's like, I can't be that. And that's okay, because now I have all of them in school. Thank you, Jesus. Right. Like, they're all in school all day. And I get to do this. Right?
It's like little pockets. It's like all of a sudden you get like a deep inhale.
Yeah. It's like and that's what meditation is. Like, girl, if you can get that big, deep inhale, maybe 10 of them in a row, if you're really lucky, then you are doing great. You're doing great.
What do you say to those people like, I don't have time for this? How many times have you heard that?
I mean, I believe you because I haven't taken a shower in 2 days. So I believe so this morning I was like, I'm going to take a shower before this podcast.
That's what dry shampoo was invented for.
Right, exactly. So in my case, hair oil. So I just like oil it up. So you don't have time for it. You don't. And that's why I have spent many, many hours probably crying in my shower and in my laundry room and in my driveway. And I at least make that time. And the thing is, it's about the intention. So it's not about just going and crying in the shower. It's about saying, okay, I'm crying in the shower and this is my time to heal. I am letting it out. I'm connecting with my grief and my pain. And that makes all the difference. So it's not about escaping. It's about really going inside and saying like, this is the thing I need to experience. So you don't have time. I believe you.
Yeah.
Make the time that you spent complaining, lamenting, feeling guilty, feeling grief, like make that a time for connection to an acknowledgement that you're actually working through something.
What do you think about, you mentioned something about, I want my body back, but seeing motherhood as like a grieving process. Like there's these cycles in life. We have new growth and death and loss and all of that fun stuff.
You haven't lost your body. She's still there. And I think I address that in the book. You haven't lost your body. She's changing just like you are. Your heart changes, your maturity changes, like so many things change and that we accept as good things, right? So our bodies change and it's hard because, I went through that stage of my 30s where I was, in the kind of like still in that fitness yoga space and looking at the women coming up and feeling like I needed to compete, but yet my body had turned out 4 or 5 babies. Right? So that's like ridiculous. But it's another thing that I wish I could just fast forward, like hit the button for women and saying, you're going to get there. Like you're going to hit 40 and you're not going to give a shit. You're going to like appreciate, you're going to feel your soft belly and go, this actually feels nice. Like, I don't want to feel hard there. Like I just want to feel soft. Mm-hmm. And, you'll get there. And again, though, it's okay to grieve. There's that and you can grieve the girl you were, the young woman you were, and at the same time, love the woman, like the woman you're becoming. And it all sounds like fairy dust, but I can say that I've experienced it. And that's the only proof that I have. And that's how I speak from experience.
Do you think you need to grieve it all before you can start something new?
Yeah, I say grieve everything. Mm-hmm. Grieve hard. Grieve like you feel ridiculous about it.
But we're uncomfortable. We don't like to feel the feelings.
Well, see, you're talking to someone who doesn't even feel uncomfortable anymore. Like we'll get into an awkward situation and I'm like relishing and I'm like, this is like, this is getting juicy. But, I do go through stages where like I have a therapy appointment today. Right? Mm-hmm. Like holler for therapy. And often I go in there and I say, I feel foolish for even complaining about this thing because I'm so blessed, right? I have this love in my life. I have these children. I have this house, whatever. I feel so blessed. And, there's no service in feeling guilty at all. It doesn't help anybody. So for me, I say grieve and get over, like really dive into it and feel foolish, feel uncomfortable. But I grieve a lot of things. And even recently, and I'll say this was just kind of crazy, and my husband is somewhere. He probably hears me right now, but I was thinking about my ex-husband who I despise.
I was reading about that in here too.
He is the worst. But just this morning, I was thinking like, I want to write him a note and I want to tell him like, we cared about each other once. We loved each other once and we should really get over whatever we're doing for us, for the kids, for all of it. And, there's a part of me that still grieves the end of that relationship, even though it's like nothing I want. And it feels weird and foolish, but I let myself go there because if I don't let it go there, it will persist.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. So much that happens within us, and we question it of like, why am I feeling this way? Why I should get over this. We don't need to. Nice. There was something you mentioned inside. You're talking about, I don't know what chapter it was, 3, 5, but
I don't know.
Couch.
Oh my ugly fucking couch. Can I say?
Yeah. You can say fuck all you want. I have explicit for a reason. I get emails all the time. Like, I'm sorry, I just got to be me on the podcast, and we got to be us. What I liked, I mean, you could tell the story or the nutshell version of the story, but what I love, you're like, am I going to, this, I don't know what child it was, but someone loved the couch.
The littlest one. Yeah.
Yes, someone loved the couch. And you're like, well, I got to take this away because it's a trigger for me.
Yeah.
And too often we're like, keep it, this is for them and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're like, sorry, honey, I got to take this away. Like, this is, I got to be in alignment with me. And if you got to talk about this couch in therapy one day because mom took it away from you, like, so be it. What does that really mean?
I want to talk about triggers a little bit because, yesterday my husband, he offered me unsolicited advice. And I said, baby, I love you, but I really don't love when you give me advice when I didn't ask for it. And he got upset by that. He felt offended. And we had this like little argument about him being offended and me not being able to set proper boundaries and blah, blah, blah. But it really, at the end, I said, you know what? You're right. This actually shouldn't bother me, but it does. And I'm working on it. And while I'm working on it, I'd appreciate you working with me. And that was the end of it. So this couch, I grew up in poverty. I talk about it a little bit in this book, more in the last book, but we were that family on the block, even in a poor neighborhood. Like we were really, it was bad. And, I had this beautiful, very expensive couch that I bought, and having 5 kids, they wreck it. It was beige. That was stupid. There was like marker on it and whatever, and fine. And it was like tore apart because I was washing it so much. And, for me, for the family, it was just a family couch. Right. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was a reminder of being less than, of not being enough, of having that ugliness in my life. And I had to get rid of it. It was a trigger like no other. And my kids loved the couch. It was comfortable. It was definitely comfortable than the one I replaced it with. Mm-hmm. But it was important for my survival in that moment. Mm-hmm. Maybe now it wouldn't bother me as much. And this was just like a year or 2 ago that we bought the couch. But in that moment, I needed to honor where I was. And where I was a person who wasn't at peace with her backgrounds. Mm. And that's just what it is. And that's another thing I just want people to understand, that, healing doesn't mean not reacting, not feeling triggered, not getting mad, not yelling. Healing just means the acknowledgement of what's happening and honoring yourself in every moment as it's happening.
I was going to ask you and I think you kind of answered it, but like, what do you do when you're triggered, when you have those moments? Do you see that every day? You're like, this child's triggered me. This person's triggered me. Yeah. Heather's triggering me.
I look at it. I have a conversation with it.
I was like, Heather's triggering me.
No, Heather's cool. Heather's cool. I mean, you are a white lady with blonde hair, but I love you.
I know.
So, you're probably going to get comments about that. Sorry.
It's all good.
When people trigger me, when things trigger me, I get curious instead of judgmental. And I talk about this. I say, hey, what's that about? Like, where's that coming from? And what's that trying to tell me? And sometimes I still give into it and I act in a way that maybe I'm not totally proud of. And sometimes I get to stop it in its tracks and have a little bit of truth talk back to it. Mm-hmm. Say, hey, this isn't real. Like, you're not this person anymore. You're not in the situation anymore. But I acknowledge, and that's the most important part. I don't bury anymore. I was like the queen expert at burying all of my issues. And now I just let them out. I usually post them on social media.
And what was your go? That's always engaging for conversation.
Yeah.
That's where you get all the juicy comments. What was your go-to? How did you bury your stuff, your triggers?
When I was younger, it was drugs, alcohol, sex. Then it turned to frantic, frenetic, obsessive activities, organizing things, joining clubs. even now, if I want to bury something, I get deep into creative mode. I go into my work. The difference now is when I see it, I say, okay, I'm feeling like I need a little bit of buffer. I need a little bit of distance from this thing that's really hurting me or coming up. And I allow myself to do the thing to protect myself, but I see it. And then I say, okay, how can I just not go too deep? How can I stay in this place of awareness and acknowledgement? I mean, it's hard. I'm a person who struggles, suffers from, lives with, manages anxiety and depression every single day of my life. It is relentless. It's who I am. Maybe one day it won't be, but today it is. So it's a lot of work. And there are days when I wake up and I go, God, why does it have to be this hard? Why do I have to feel this and do a meditation and a prayer and tapping and like, I'm like hitting myself and doing all these things to like snap myself out of it. But it is what it is. And if I want to live this life, this is what I do. Yeah.
By being you and showing up fully as yourself, how has that made an impact in the world, around the world, you see?
Oh, girl, I'm changing the world. How has it made an impact in the world? Now, I think
by speaking your truth, that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah. So speaking my truth, I am a true believer that we are here to be each other's keeper. We are our siblings' keeper. And we are here, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a person who goes to church and believes in God and whatever. So I would say that, you know, when people say, you know, why does God let bad things happen? I say he doesn't, he put us here. And why do we let bad things happen? So I think that when we show up knowing that our purpose is to love one another and do for one another and take care of one another, then we are really in our genius zone. So I try to do that every day. And the last prayer that I say every single morning, first I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Then I name 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I say, God, how may I serve? And I get the answer very quickly now. And then I go do that. So I do believe that I am walking in purpose. And I do believe that I, by telling my truth, I'm allergic to lying, that I allow other women and men and non-men and non-women, whatever, to feel more seen and secure in speaking their truth. And I do a lot. I'm here for other people. I'm here to serve. That's what my life is.
And on your deathbed, the legacy.
Are you killing me now?
I'm just trying to.
I'm not ready.
How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, that I loved. That I loved. Because I do. I love human beings so much. Even when I'm talking about white people.
I
love.
am so curious. Like, I'm just like, what can I do? And I'm like, Heather, just fucking show up to the conversation and listen.
Listen and do. Listen and act.
I don't know what the doing or acting is. Because
you know what it is.
Okay. But here's the thing. I'm like, it's progress, not perfection, right? Like just show up and act. And even if they're like, why'd you do that? That was wrong. Or that, like just getting feedback. I'm like, okay, just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Let me tell you something though, about when women say they don't know what to do. And it really does often, I'm getting it from white women who are saying, I don't know what to do.
For me, it's coming from a perfectionist mindset of being uncomfortable.
So Trump got elected. The man, we dare not say his name, but I just did. So he gets elected and he gets inaugurated. And the next day, millions of women showed up and they knitted their pussy hats and they showed up. They made signs for the first time in their lives. They were out like they knew what to do. Your kid gets bullied at school. You know what to do. You know how to advocate for them. You know how to go in and like read the principle of the riot act. You know what to do. Yeah. It's really saying like, what if these people are my sisters for real? What if these children are my children for real? And then you know what to do. You know what to do. Because in those moments, you don't care about perfection. You care about like getting the job done.
True.
And I say like, mess up.
Yeah.
Mess up. Like marginalized people don't want your perfection. They want your love. And love is messy.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because there's been many times where I've spoken up and I knew going at it, like I get goosebumps. I'm like, oh, Heather, here we fucking go. And I'm like, excuse me. No, it doesn't. Are you listening to yourself? Yeah. I've had many conversations with my husband who might watch this, and I every day just call him out. And I was like, be mindful of what you're saying. Our children, our boys are watching.
It's urgent. It really, really is urgent. I have white passing children. I have 5 children. They were with white men. So they're very, very, very light. And I tell them all the time we talk about their privilege, but not just their privilege, but their obligation to step up and put themselves in harm's way sometimes to do the right thing. And they've seen me pull over when a Black person is pulled over, and we wait and we watch until they're safe. And it's just little gestures like that to say, like, if my sister was pulled over, my brother was pulled over, I'd be watching. Yeah. And it's, I was raised, I'm very grateful. Like, my parents did a lot of things wrong, but the one thing they did right was that they gave me the worldview that there are no such thing as borders. There are no such, I've never said the Pledge of Allegiance. I know I'm going to get something for that, but I've never have, even in school. And I really believe that everyone is literally my brother and sister. So it's easy for me, but it's something that everyone can learn.
You're going to make me cry. And it's from like a heart place, but I have to say, from this conversation, what you've given me, yeah, I'm going to cry. What you've given me is you're like, Heather, you know what to do. Like, stop with the how-to manual or the, being uncomfortable or whatever. You're like, I'm pretty used to discomfort and all of that stuff, but be more uncomfortable on a daily basis, face-to-face with people, just trying to figure this out. But you're like, what would you do if that was your child? What would you do if that was your sister? And when I reframe it like that, I know what to do. So that was the biggest takeaway for me. And you gave me a lot, Rebekah.
Thank you. I hope that you see that, because I always speak from the perspective of Black lives, and we see the headlines and we see all the trauma porn online of Black people being assaulted or Black babies being killed, and for me, I look at Trayvon and I say, that's my son. And I wish that if white women saw that and said, that's my son, then you all, for real, you all could change the whole world in an instant if you just accepted that as true. And that's why I come on to these podcasts. That's why I talk about this when people invite me on for my book, and I'm like, no, let's talk about Black people.
And I'm like, I'll give you space.
Because I believe in the human heart. I think that we're all corrupted. I think we swim in white supremacy. We're all swimming in the same waters of white supremacy and anti-Blackness. And that extends to so many things. But if we can acknowledge that, I think that everyone has the potential to heal and do right. So I'm just appealing to you and the people that are watching you to say, like, if that's the lesson, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because that's all it takes, is to see everyone as family.
Yeah. Thank you. To wrap it up.
We done?
Well, it's 30 minutes already. We could talk forever and ever and ever. We had way more time in the thing. But I want to ask you, there's so much pressure that we put on ourselves as women in general, let alone our past histories and childhoods and everything else, where we try to overcompensate for our mothering.
Yeah.
What is your definition of motherhood?
Oh, wow. Well, so yesterday was my, as we're recording this, as we're live here, was my littlest one's 5th birthday. And I had 4 of my children here, because my oldest is at college, and including the one who we're still in this like weird estrangement. And, it's really hard, because I still feel like I'm not doing this job right. Like, I don't know how to talk to him. And I guess the definition of motherhood for me right now in this moment is to understand that these children, and I say this a lot, they don't belong to me. They have come through me, but not from me. And I have to just honor them and who they are, honor their paths, hold space for their success and their happiness, respect who they are, and look at them as the teachers they are. Motherhood is a gift. It is something to perform from a perspective of witnessing and not doing. And I'm just trying to be that.
Through you. I love it. What are you up to these days besides a non-book tour? I'm just kidding.
So you want to hear something funny? I'm launching 3 books at the same time, because I'm a lunatic. So Managing the Motherload, which I'm so proud of, that I do not promote enough, it just came out. I wrote my first children's book, Zara's Big Messy Day, which is really my heart and soul. And I hope people support. I did a Kickstarter campaign. It's wildly successful. I'm so happy. And it's a little brown girl who talks about managing her emotions. She's based on me and like learning the tools, and it's going to be a series. And then I have another book coming out on October 8th, which is a cute little meditation book that has clay, and which is really important to me as someone who suffers from anxiety. I can, it's something to use, like a tactile physical thing to use. Yeah. So, I'm doing all that. I'm trying to be a mom. I'm trying to be a good wife.
Are you still being a doula? I'm still
a doula. I actually talked to a client this morning. What I'm doing right now, what I'm up to right now is loving every minute of being alive and being very grateful for it. Yeah.
I love that. Love being alive and grateful for it. Thank you. Thank you. Where can people find you typically, what you have going on, where you're talking?
I am BEXLIFE everywhere. So on Instagram, Facebook, BEXLIFE.com. I am addicted to social media. So if you say hi, it's going to be me saying hi back within seconds. BEXLIFE. Please holler at me because I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you. And yes, for those listening to this on the podcast, send her a message and let her know what your aha moment was. Yeah, I think there's more private conversations going on than there are public. And I think you've ignited many, many conversations. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.